Hey everyone, this is Paul Sidarian from Security Weekly. We are at DerbyCon. I almost said DEF CON the other day. I'm like, what is going on? No, we're at DerbyCon. I'm here with Cody
Kentucky,
Pierce.
yeah.
And Cody, you're a principal security...
Product manager.
Principal product manager is what I meant to say for Rapid7.
Right.
Some of you may recognize Cody when he came on the show in a previous job. But now Cody's at Rapid7. We're here talking about the attacker perspective. And the first place that, when you mentioned just the phrase attacker perspective, was putting myself in the shoes of an enterprise defender, thinking about how I look at my internal network from that perspective and my external network. So what are some of your thoughts on that, Cody?
Yeah, I mean, I think the attacker perspective is more of a different view of your risk in your enterprise. So with traditional tools, you're going to have a good idea of where to prioritize your remediation, your vulnerability management, your IDR covers that. But what we're kind of lacking is an ability to, simulate or view your network as a real attacker would if they get access. And by using that, you can kind of inform the priority of your remediation. You can see where maybe some of your security controls have failed or you need to invest more. And I think it's a really healthy thing to do because it makes us more proactive versus waiting for breach, waiting to kind of respond, waiting to go through our process, and allows us to just build confidence and see it how an attacker might see it. And I think that's really healthy to a program.
And I think some of the key things are when you look at the maybe 30 products you might have across your network today, how do you know, one, what all of their weaknesses might be if you're not testing them, right? How do you know that in this point in time, if everything is configured the way I want it to detect these attacks? And then third, how do you know someone didn't change something that opened up an exposure?
Yeah.
Right? And that goes beyond just looking at my network for vulnerabilities. It's looking at, well, if an attack happens, where does that fall in my visibility? Can I actually detect it? And given those first three things,
no,
we got a challenge internally.
It's a blind spot. Yeah, it's absolutely a blind spot. I mean, I think there's two different aspects to it. We're not. It's only going to get more complex, so we'll probably have more security products, more controls, more networks to defend. And so, not only do you need a solution that tells you where you may be missing, but a lot of the solutions, they're not one size fits all. They take some tuning, they take some customization, they take some configuration, and just that process by nature is going to be blind until you're able to measure how effective you are. So I think by kind of doing a simulation or seeing it from the attacker perspective and doing it regularly, you can kind of build more confidence by tuning some of your security stack, finding where your weaknesses are. Maybe you're not covering some segment of your network. Right. And then if it's continuous, which I think is the way that it's going to become, then if something changes, maybe it's a mistake or an oversight, then you get notified quickly,
right,
and you're not blindsided by it when a breach happens.
Also, I think dwell time is something that we don't focus on enough. I think we try and focus on, well, nothing should get in, but the focus really needs to be on how long can something that looks like an attack or malware exist in my environment before I find it. And it's really about getting that down. When I worked for a university, that was a big thing because there's no way I could stop all the attacks from coming in.
Right.
My goal was to find stuff as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we all should assume breach. I think that's why you've seen hunting become more popular.
Absolutely.
Red teaming become more popular. It's more of an activity or more of a iteration through your security program to help you get better at finding some of those, and not only to find the bad guy or the bad thing, but find out what in your environment is potentially noisy or causing false positives, and just get better at knowing your environment. I think you have to have a repetition, and I think you have to kind of practice it. So yeah, I think part of that is being able to have a product or a solution or something that can simulate that side of the attack or perform some kind of activity that is red team related or pen test related, and do that continuously to inform where you need to be next.
Right.
Yeah.
I also feel like a lot of the focus has been internal. However, what we read about in the news is oftentimes an external control or mistake that has led to a serious breach. I mean, how many times have we seen an open S3 bucket, or someone dump some JavaScript on a site like we've seen with Newegg and British Airways, right? Yeah. That external presence is, like, I feel like we had it, kind of thought we had it locked down for a while, but now there's so many different things that could be exposed externally that we really need to pay attention to that and gain some insights to it from an attacker's perspective, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, attackers are out there scanning. The attackers are going to find your mistake. Yep. They're going to find your private key that you uploaded to GitHub.
Yep.
They're going to do it way before you do because they're financially motivated and they're watching.
Yeah. I'd like to see us get better at that, though. Like, I feel like we're positioned to find that before the attackers do, if we know our environments, going back to your point, right?
And in DevOps is kind of, again, we're not going to simplify our modern life and digital lives.
Sure.
It's only going to get more complex, and there's a fantastic business case for DevOps, but security has to kind of be there with DevOps as you go to push to the cloud, as you go to have private GitHub repositories, living in the same authentication as maybe public GitHub repositories. I mean, it's difficult, right? Security is always difficult, but I think it's going to be, the more we adopt some of those more agile type things and go to market as quickly as possible and utilize the cloud, it just needs to be another piece of your security program.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, and I think a good program is able to identify their risk, right? One company might not actually have any exposure to the cloud, might not be an e-commerce site. They have a different risk profile than someone like Newegg or someone like a startup that's all cloud. And so I think that's also a part of us growing as an industry, learning how to show customers and learning how to build programs that are more tailored to our risk profile. You know, and
it is. You know, I articulate that poorly as like different strokes for different folks, but your example is like spot on. Like, not every company is a startup with a pure cloud play that's offering a service, and not every customer is a large financial with a huge presence. Like, there's everything in between, and there are a lot of different use cases that we have to be smart about educating the market so that they have the right strategy that's applicable to where they are as a company today and how they operate.
Yeah, and it's especially hard if you're building a security program now and you're trying to invest properly. You know, security incidents are all over the news. It's every day now, right? So if you're trying to go in and say, where do I put my first dollar on security? It's much harder now than it might have been 20 years ago, where you would probably just get AV or you'd get a firewall, and that was the end of your consideration.
I had one T1 to the internet. I got a firewall. I got antivirus. I'm good, right?
You know, you're worried if you should get rid of your Intel systems and replace them with AMD. And you know, a lot of times that you know, it's hard to have an advocate that helps you through some of that and helps you tailor your program. You know, and from the Rapid7 perspective, it's also one of the powers of having like a platform, right? Like, it's not, you don't come in eating the whole pie, right? You do the solution that's right for you, and then as you grow, you want a vendor that kind of grows with you, and you want to be able to kind of take that journey and not have to learn new interfaces and all that. So, I mean, I think the industry as a whole is starting to figure out that it's not just the 1% that needs security, the 1% being the Fortune 50.
Yeah,
it's really everybody.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And not everybody is a, you know, is a technology company, although they are kind of becoming a technology company no matter what.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was saying earlier, I really like the acquisitions that Rapid7 has made. The strategy in the market is awesome, and the services that you have, how tightly integrated they all are, is something we don't often find in every single vendor in the space today. So definitely check them out. Rapid7 has been a great partner for a long time. So Cody, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.